Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night.
Oasis, a radio show where we discuss the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am.
How are you this week?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah. Yep. Not too bad. It's snowing out in my neck of the woods, and it's definitely been a better week compared to the hell that was last week, but still going through all that stuff is not fun. But we're here to put all that behind us, talk horror, and we got ourselves a show that was in the making. This is another one of those that there's a lot here to really discuss. And it's not really about the movie, even though it is, but there's just a lot of things to really get into. And yeah, and just go back and forth because last month we did a film called Scarecrow's Revenge, which is basically Vikings versus a Scarecrow. And it was directed by Louisa Warren. And after that film, I just decided, because I knew she did more Scarecrow movies, and I watched one of them, which was Bride of Scarecrow. And come to find out, that I was like, why does this film seem so familiar? Bride of Scarecrow. And I looked at her filmography, and she did a film called The Tooth Fairy. And it's an exact same film, because she did Bride of Scarecrow before Tooth Fairy. And she did the exact same film with those two films, where it's a farmhouse, there's a curse, there's family on a farm and a stable, same set, same locale, almost the same characters. And it's just like they hit the same beats. And so we had Scarecrow's Revenge, and come to find out that she also did tonight's film called Pagan Warrior, which is AKA Vikings versus Krampus. And when I found that out, I'm like, okay, we kind of have to do it because we usually do a Krampus film during these marathons, and we just have to see if it's a copy and paste situation with Scarecrow's Revenge. And we're going to get into that because there's a little bit of there's a lot to discuss, Ian. So let's get into this. So Pagan Warrior takes place in Sussex, England. And again, it did the whole thing with like the dates, the year. Like it said 812, and then it said 1812. And like, okay, so did someone forget to put the 1 in front of the 8 when they did 812? But nonetheless, we have the opening of the film is a little boy. Again, he's about 10. And so he's going out of the castle to play, and he has his old beat-up ball that he plays with, and he gets attacked by a Krampus. Not a spoiler, it starts out that way. So you basically, sort of in the sense of Scarecrow's Revenge, you pretty much get to see the killer soon as the film starts. So there's no hiding it. Even though later on in the film they kind of try to hide it, but you already seen him, so there's really no reason to hide everything. But it kind of makes sense later on. But we'll get into that. And so we go back a little bit where we get exposition of the history, and it was the king. He ruled, and then he died, and then his son took over, which was Rollo, which is played by the bushy beard guy. I forgot his name. The actual Peter Cosgrove, who's a staple apparently this year for all the films that we've reviewed. So Peter Cosgrove, who plays King Rollo, who also played the guy that tried to rape the girl. He was basically the Scarecrow he became the Scarecrow in Scarecrow's Revenge. Same guy. So he's king now, and the Vikings are wanting to overtake the castle that he's in. And the Vikings is basically the same fucking Viking. Ube is played by the Viking leader, is the same Viking leader that was in Scarecrow's Revenge. So there's all these characters. Like his wife, the witch in Scarecrow's Revenge is his wife, Viking wife, in Pagan Warrior, and then his daughter is the same daughter. So there's a lot of characters reused. Not saying that's a bad thing, but like when the film was going on, I was like, they could, I messaged you in saying like, if you just take it that like the King Rollo, like the guy, like if you consider like he had a twin as like the same universe, like the Prince and the Pauper. It's like this is the exact same film.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'll get into that. We got to discuss the film. So the Vikings overthrow the castle and kill. They try to kill. They killed his son, I believe. The Vikings basically they overtake the castle. They stab King Rollo. They stab his wife, and the Ube takes his daughter hostage and says, I'm going to give her my seed to bear my children. Even though he already has a wife and daughter, he's still going to have sex with the daughter just to, like put one last, kick in the nuts before, dying. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Spit in the face, basically, to overthrow the castle. And so after that, we're introduced to Constance and Millicent, and Constance is played by Louisa Warren herself, which is I messaged you like Louisa Warren cameo. So they take both King Rollo, or I'm just going to call him Rollo, it's easy, and his wife, and they mend them back to health, and they say we can get revenge on those, that to get your castle back. And he says, I agree, and he says, but like in 10 years' time, we have to summon, once we summon the Krampus, in 10 years' time, he's going to come back and take something of yours. Not exactly know what it is, but he'll come back for his debt. And he agrees to it, and he says, I want, basically he says, I want everyone in the castle, I want the castle to be back to me. So he's taken, that brings up a little bit later on in the film. So they summon Krampus. There has to be a sacrifice. So that Constance doesn't want to lose Millicent, and so she kills herself. And so it's basically now we have Krampus and Rollo who agreed to an agreement that he'll come back in 10 years' time, take his whatever, and he'll get to kill the people that have taken over the castle to give back to Rollo. And so that's the gist of the film. Now here's the thing. We had a lot of issues with Scarecrow's Revenge. There was so many things wrong with it. And they didn't, it was kind of slow, and they didn't exactly know what they wanted to do with the Scarecrow. The kills weren't all that impressive, and they always kept talking about Valhalla, but this one, I don't know what happened, Ian, but all the things that were wrong with Scarecrow's Revenge, like they managed to like redraft or go back into the script and rewrite it, and somehow they managed to make it work with a Krampus instead of a Scarecrow, because like the flow, the pacing of the film was so much better. Like you're watching it and you have to pause. Like I'm already 45 minutes into this thing. It doesn't even feel like you're, that long of a film.
Yeah.
It's a very quick watch, honestly, and that's a fucking amazement into itself, an achievement. So they did that. The Krampus actually looked okay compared to the Scarecrow and Scarecrow's Revenge. They look like they put a little, it's cheap looking, and there's parts of it where the horns that they use is definitely bouncing around on his head when he's doing things. So there's a little bit of that where the horns aren't exactly in place. So, but you kind of have to look past that because, again, it's like a big giant horn thing, and I guess it'll topple over, bounce around a little bit. The characters were actually more bearable to deal with, and like there was a reasoning behind everything. Because like in Scarecrow's Revenge, like the Peter Cosgrove's character who becomes the Scarecrow, he wants revenge to basically kill the Vikings and take their land, right? And it's all because he wants revenge because he tried to rape the one guy's underage daughter. So it was like, that's stupid, and that was kind of pointless. Like, why is that even a thing? But this one, it makes sense to the story, and like, there's no obligatory opening with the two people in the fields, and then the Scarecrow kills them, and it doesn't really make sense in a way, even though it kind of does later on. This one, the opening of the film makes sense to the ending of the film, and everything else kind of fell into place, believe it or not. There is issues with it, but nonetheless, it's actually probably because there's two things to look at here. There's, again, Louisa Warren's films that we've reviewed, which has been a lot on the show, and I've seen a lot, a handful, I believe, at least probably 5 or so. And then, of course, we have to look at it as a Krampus movie, and we've reviewed a lot of Krampus movies. And it's actually one of the better ones in a weird way, because if you look at it, you look at, like, Krampus Origins.
On both
that
accounts.
film was just, on both accounts. Like, Krampus Origins is just a mess, right? And then, of course, like, Krampus Unleashed is kind of a mess, too. So this one actually, it works. Believe it or not, it's actually one of the better Krampus movies, even though it's like it has issues, but it's just like those two predicaments where like you just have to look at it and like, well, compared to everything else that we've watched and reviewed on both accounts with Louisa Warren films and Krampus films, it's actually not too bad of a film, and it works in its storytelling. The sword play is better in this one than it was in Scarecrow's Revenge, because that one felt awful. It's like they did more because, again, she did I'm assuming she did 3 Vikings movies back to back, because I was looking at her filmography. She did Scarecrow's Revenge, Pagan Warrior, and then Viking War. So I'm assuming these were back to back to back because they had all the things necessary to. Yeah, the same people, outfits, attires, swords, just like everything needed to make 3 films back to back. And it was a better, I mean, it's not good in any means necessary, but compared to everything else that I've just mentioned, it's actually not too bad, believe it or not.
And we didn't I didn't see an airplane or hear an airplane go by, so.
Yeah, and they do more with the Krampus too. Like when we had the kills with the Scarecrow, they were kind of uninspired and just lame. Like there's actually points in this one where it's like, yeah, they're not the greatest, but they kind of make it, believable for the Krampus character. They used he impaled somebody with his horn. Like it wasn't the greatest thing, but hey, at least he tried. And then I kind of wanted him to pull the head off. Because like later, I swear, like later on in the film, there's like a decapitated head, but I might be confusing that with another film I watched. But like he snapped the neck. But honestly, it's not a bad movie, with everything considered. Ian, your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth on everything.
Yeah, no, it did. It definitely felt more put together. I mean, like I didn't really have that many. Why did this happen? Well, because it did. Like the past couple of films that we reviewed from her. But yeah, no, the swordplay comparatively was better. It still kind of looked like it looked like they rehearsed it better than the last time.
Mm-hmm.
One kill that I thought was funny was when Krampus was biting that guy's neck, and then when he let go, all you saw was just like his neck was still intact, but you just saw like dried red blood paint on his neck, and I was like,
no bite mark or any skin removed from the throat.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, that's.
Well, hey,
I was like, okay,
there's
that's kind of
something
funny.
there, you know, with the scarecrow and his clawed hands. Like we couldn't even get a throat rip, you know, and he had clawed fingers. Like this one, at least he had sharp teeth, and we got something, even though there was no throat rip still, but at least you got to see it, you know.
Yeah, no, I just was like, I just busted up.
It's the thought that
laughing.
counts. Like at least he tried.
Yeah. A couple other issues I had was when she was doing the incantation, she was pausing a lot, and it felt like she didn't know where she was going to go with her incantation, so it kind of felt like she made it up on the spot. And those are like a couple of times it was like that. But I mean, if those are our, you know, like it didn't really take away from what was going on, but it did. It was just kind of like just something you could notice. Like she stutters a lot. Like I don't know if she's just trying to remember her lines, but no, it was just some, you know, a few things here and there that just seemed kind of off about it. But other than that, I mean, the story was okay. It really did make sense. More so than
it was more acceptable in believability with the story and the reasoning.
Like
the Vikings took over the castle now, you know, and killed me. I mean, it's time. You know, it's an old tale. You know, someone gets hurt and they revive and they want revenge and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, and Vikings did take over castles. So
yeah. And so like he wants revenge, and you know, of course he has to go save his daughter, and like the Krampus is going to go after everyone in the castle, including his daughter. So like he's like trying to figure out like, what have I done? So there's like remorse, and there's like you kind of care a little bit about Rollo and like his man. So there's like actually like you kind of put thought, you know, they put thought into like, okay, cool, you know, he's actually not that bad of a character, you know, even though, you know, he kind of realizes he did wrong and everything, but like he still wants, and he's more in tune of wanting power than family because he doesn't think of anything else but power. But still, that's Kings for you, right? But it just like it worked better than the whole thing with his character in Scarecrow's Revenge of wanting revenge for, oh, they strung me out in a field for attempting to rape an underage girl, and now I want to get revenge and take over their village, and I have 2 days. And they did that right, even better too, because, you know, like the whole thing with like the Scarecrow having 2 days, well, just wait it out, you know, like he's almost, you just have to wait it out. And like Krampus is there for 1 day, and they even make point of it, and like, okay, well, we'll just wait it out. And like he leaves even before that. So they even like they rectified like everything, all the issues that was wrong in Scarecrow's Revenge. They kind of reworked and made more believable in Vikings versus Krampus, Pagan Warrior. So like everything all the issues was like reworked. So like I don't know what happened, but like
maybe
he managed to make.
Yeah, like I was just gonna say, like maybe she actually made Scarecrow's Revenge first, and was like, yeah, let's redo that. But like, we still need to. We're just gonna keep this movie since we already made it, but we're just gonna redo it. Because I mean, it was pretty much like if you break it down, it kind of still has the same like plot.
It's very similar to Scarecrow's Revenge. Even, again, character-wise, even, like, in the film themselves, like, the Viking, Ube was the same character in both films. And then his wife, same character, same person. His daughter, same everything. I mean, you just flip Rollo from being a bad guy to a good guy and make Ube the bad guy now. So you flip those characters and just have a total opposite of the spectrum. And then you include, pepper in a few other characters, the right-hand men of Ube, not Ube, but whatever his name was in Scarecrow's Revenge, his colleagues, is now on the Rollo side. So it's just like they flipped everything and just like put this character over here and everything. It's the exact same film. The curse and then how many days, they just made it one now, and then getting revenge over a certain thing that happened, and like wanting to get the castle back is now like, that in Scarecrow's Revenge is wanting to take over their little town village. And just like it's like the exact same thing, but it's just like he managed to do it much better and much more efficient. And like I said, it's not the greatest movie. Yeah, it's a very adequate movie. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, it doesn't really drag. I mean, people, if you like, again, if you've watched other films that like we have, we can say like if you haven't seen her other films and think this is bad, you're slowly mistaken because there's definitely worse. And us coming on here and saying like it's actually not bad, that's saying something because we kind of expected something. Yeah, it's the same film technically, just reworded and reworked around, and characters changed, and dialogue changed, and a new villain. You got a Krampus instead of a Scarecrow, but it works better. It flows better. The pacing's good. I mean, everything that was wrong with Scarecrow's Revenge is so much better configured in Pagan Warrior, and it's still cheap looking and still low budget and still has issues, but compared to Scarecrow's Revenge or fucking Mermaid's Curse or any of her, Louise's earlier films, it's bad. Like it's good compared to those. Like it is probably her best work that I've seen so far. Even though it's the same fucking film, but it's like again, we got fucking Wrong Turn coming out next year, and it's the fucking same film. Like it's a different director, but from the same writer. Like this is gonna be fucking Cabin Fever. It doesn't fucking work all the time, but like this one, they actually make it fucking work.
Yeah.
For what they're trying to achieve. But Ian, go on a little bit.
I think we pretty much covered that. It wasn't a bad watch. Was it the greatest thing in the world? No. Will I probably watch it again? Probably not. Mostly because, there's not really a whole lot to it. But if somebody does ask if, for a Krampus movie, I definitely will suggest it. Just don't...
Yeah, because there's so many bad ones we've reviewed. I mean, we brought them up. Krampus Origins, actually. Krampus Unleashed. There's just so many god-awful ones out there.
Werewolf.
At least this one, they tried to make it look sort of decent, even though he did look like some kind of Dr. Moreau reject. I'm going to cross-pollinate him with a freaking animal, and I'm going to make it a ram, And just, it looked, what they're trying to do, it looked better than the fucking Scarecrow. Yeah, it looked better than the Scarecrow.
Oh, God, yes.
I mean,
I was like,
he
he actually looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
He looks
he's not the greatest. You can see the makeup and how, again, it's cheap. It's just cheaply done. Because, again, they're shooting these movies back to back, and they want to get them done as quickly as possible, I'm assuming it took, 12 days, even probably less than that. But they're shooting them back to back. I'm assuming that's what they did with these three, her Viking films. So it's it's going to be cheaply done.
I just looked up the movies, and they were all put out in 2019. So they all came out around in the same year.
Yeah, there you go. They're all made and released the same year. It's just to get money, Of course, you got to fill those slots up at Walmart. Not nice. Even though Pagan Warrior is at Dollar Tree for $1, and Viking War, so now they're not at. They were at Walmart. Now they're at Dollar Tree. And they even brought a Scarecrow. All her everything she's done pretty much has been on Dollar Tree. But I digress. But this one, again, it's one of the better ones. Honestly, I think it's actually, even though it's not the greatest, I still think it's the better of what we watched. Because, the other two might be, again, more, they were just lengthy for no reason. And, a lot of stuff dragged, especially last week's film with Hanukkah. That was just not good. And then, Christmas Blood was kind of in the same, so it's we're in the thing here where we're, reviewing very similar films this year. First two films, pretty much exactly alike, and now we have Pagan Warrior, which is exactly like another film we reviewed. Of course, we've had enough already on this episode, but we have to bring it up because it's necessary. And again, I will say it's probably the best one so far. And that's not saying much because it is not technically a good movie, but again, in the realm of things and with the other films of Louisa that we reviewed, the other Krampus movies we've reviewed, it's up there as being pretty decent. It's okay. It's sufficient. It's adequate. It's not groundbreaking. It's okay. It's a time waster. If you want to see some Krampus movie, it's one of the better ones. Even though you barely get much of it, they do it better than other ones. Especially in the realm of things, and it's not a bad. It's not good. Again, this is just coming from us. For someone who's not seen the Louise's other films or the other Krampus movies, you can say, "Oh, this movie's terrible." You would be right. You're correct in thinking that, but in the realm of things, say that again, it's decent.
Right, and. It's nice that, I didn't hate myself for watching this movie. It's, how we get sometimes. So, these reviews, since we've been doing the marathons this whole year, I like that there's always, a hidden gem or, comparatively, it's the hidden gem compared to the other things we've watched. And it's it's getting closer to the end. We got 2 more weeks left, so kind of excited to see what the next 2 movies will bring. See if we can top this movie.
Yeah, it's always interesting. And then of course we got whatever waits 2021. But I know we have one film in store start off 2021. I'm looking forward to that one. But again, this year we got 2 more. We already know 1 more, but still haven't decided on our final film. So I'm looking forward to whatever that may be, and what other horrors await us for our Christmas marathon. But yeah, this one, as mentioned before, it's not great. It is cheaply done, and again, I pretty much went over the whole spiel. In the realm of things, as Ian says, comparatively, with Louisa, her other films and other Krampus movies, and the other Christmas movies we reviewed so far, it is kind of the best one. Even though those other films we reviewed, except for maybe Hanukkah. Hanukkah was pretty bad. Even though the gore was okay, this one's just and the look of the killer and everything like that. It's just they're more bloody and more well produced in a way, and looked better compared to Pagan Warrior. But this one this one had a pace that was just like very quick, and like you were already halfway through and you didn't even realize it, because like the story, even though it is Scarecrow's revenge done differently, it worked better, it flowed better, it had a better pace. Characters were you were invested in them because they swap places. And it's just like, again, you see the characters just like, again, in different places and different characters. It's not been done before, but like it's weird to see it done before, but then like the same directors, same characters, like just, all that in two different films, like, oh, we're just going to swap places, It's just like, but nonetheless, I'm going into a whole different diatribe. But yeah, it's not too bad. And it is cheaply done. It is not the greatest if you haven't seen the other films. And I could understand that. You would be correct. But if you've watched the other films, as I've said other times before already, it's not as bad comparatively. Ian, any final thoughts before we call this a show?
No, I'm good. I think we covered everything.
All right. Yep, that's going to do it. As always, looking forward to checking out our film next week as we almost come to a close for 2021. For 2020, and looking into the future for 2021. But we have 2 more Christmas shows episodes. I'm looking forward to those, as of course Ian is as well. So Ian, as always, it's great talking with you, and I'm amazed we actually managed to get through this without really burying Louisa, because we've done that with all her previous films that we've reviewed, especially Scarecrow's Revenge and Mermaid's Curse. We really kind of dogged her for Mermaid's Curse. So it's kind of interesting to see if she did. I don't know. It's nice to see something actually decent, even though it's the same film that we've already seen before, which is done different. So it's doable. But nonetheless, it's great talking with you, and